How to hack PropStream for the absolute bestseller list. Guys, it's Rick Ginn here with Flip with Rick, and we are going to deep dive in how to get the best list through PropStream using all sorts of filters, and I'm going to give you my play-by-play filter list so you can use and duplicate my success. But before we get into it, I need you to do me a favor. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button to continue to receive the absolute best up-to-date information on wholesaling today. If you guys haven't heard of PropStream by now, go over to listrei.com and sign up for your 7-day free trial period. And I'm going to teach you how to get the absolute bestseller lists so you can duplicate my success. The main goal here is to find motivated sellers so we can contract them and sell the contracts to our cash buyers. But before we find motivated sellers, we need to look for indications that will point us in the absolute right direction to get the best deals possible. So I like to use listrei.com, and the first thing you want to do is go in there, and then you need to find your geographic area. So when it comes to the geographic part, the best thing I recommend doing is breaking it down per zip code. Now, you can do multiple zip codes. You can even do cities. I prefer zip codes because it's very exact. And that's the easiest way to find your geographic area. Now, if you want to get a little bit more advanced and get really precise, in the upper left-hand corner of your PropStream screen, you'll see a little pencil. You can actually draw a radius for an area. And what I recommend is not using the circular one. You can use one where it does like a polygon. So like if you want to be on this side of like the railroad tracks and do this geographic area, you can actually, I think, connect 4 or 5 points and draw a custom area. Go ahead and play around with it. It doesn't cost you anything to use. And that's the only one I would use other than using specific zip codes. So once you have your geographic area, which is the area you're going to farm for motivated sellers, we want to move on to our filters. Now, your filters are going to enable you to pull the absolute best list. The best way to do this before you get started is once you put in, if you're just doing zip codes, on the right-hand corner, you'll see a count, okay? As you adjust the filters, that number will keep going down. And it will be a good indicator if you're going in the right direction or you're not. So I always watch the counts. It's great. It's the first time you're using PropStream. Let's jump into filters. So everybody asks, hey, Rick, what's the best type of list to pull? I'm going to start with the basics, okay? These are lists we're getting through listrei.com. My favorite and the most reliable ones will always be high equity. These are people that have a lot of equity in their property, and it leaves them a lot of room to cut you a great deal. Where do we start with the equity? So I like to pick high equity, and high equity is nothing more than telling you how much money the average homeowner has tied in that house. So if you took a $100,000 house and they had 50% equity, it means they have $50,000 of cash in the house, meaning they probably have a $50,000 mortgage and they started out with maybe a $90,000 and went down to $50,000. So in theory, if they sold that house today, they would receive approximately $50,000. So that explains what equity is. I like high equity lists. I've been using them since 2002. I still use them today and they work. So I used to only do absentee owners, and you can actually set your filters for absentee owners. But let me walk you through the parameters I use in my filters for high equity lists. So number one is I want to make sure I'm looking at single family homes, SFRs, and you can put multis in there as well. If you don't have experience doing condos and townhomes, take them out of your list because they're just going to add to your count, and we want to get you the best probability as possible. Single family, residential, multifamily, we want to start there. And the next one is you're going to drop down to the tab that says valuations. And in valuations, probably the most important part is you're going to see equity percentage. I like to do 40% or more. Now, if you only have a limited amount of leads that you can send, maybe you only want to do 3,000, is if the number's too big, maybe your count's 15 or 20,000, push that equity number up to 45, 50%, and so on. And the beauty of the filters is you can play around with them to increase your odds of getting you the absolute bestseller list. Guys, when you're on a tight budget and you want to maximize your 10,000 lead count, this is the way to do it. You play around with the filters on the parameters. So 40% or more, that's always what I start with. I have found my data over time, anything below 40%, you start to get in the gray area, and a lot of times there's not a lot of money left in the deal. Because remember, these are estimates. So if you get down in the 30s and the 20s, the typical closing cost is 10 to 12%. You got to make sure there's enough room in there so they can walk away with some cash and leave you enough money to do a wholesale deal. The next filter we want to drop down to is ownership. And this is a key one. Now, back in the day, I did 10 years plus. I'm telling you, that does not work anymore. I go to 4 years or more. Sometimes I even do 3. If you're having too many leads, push it up to 5. But start with 4, see where you wind up. I find people that have been in a house at least 4 years or more with 40% equity. Those are the sweet spot for most of my high equity deals. The next one is the type of property. Now, Rick, I thought we went over type. No, the type is going to refer to the ownership. I like to do individual. I avoid corporate ownership because they're typically other investors. And then I'll also choose trust. So individual and trust, check these 2 boxes off. Those are going to be the people that are most likely going to do a wholesale deal for you. Corporate owned properties, for the most part, they're going to be other wholesalers, landlords, and investors just like us. So for time's sake, and so I don't waste towards my account, I filter those out right away. The next one is going to be on MLS status. This is one of my favorite sections of PropStream with ListREI.com. You want to have off-market properties. It will help filter out all the properties that are for sale on MLS. The last thing we want to do is deal with these sellers because we know there's little to no motivation at all if it's on the market. The next filter I love to use on the ownership is the number of properties. Statistically, in my 20 years of flipping single-family residential properties, if an owner has 4 or more properties, the percentage of them doing a deal with you is almost nil to none. I don't know why it's 4 or more, but when I've done 1, 2, and 3 properties, it goes very well. The minute they own 4 or more, you have a very, very low probability. Most likely, they're a more sophisticated investor, and they're going to beat you up on price. Use this filter or not, but it saves me a ton of energy. I find that people with 4 or more properties just beat you up on a spreadsheet and they're only focused on numbers. Very, very little motivation. Guys, please use this filter. It'll help you out a ton. Now, there's going to be a section on your filter that asks you if you want to include pre-probates. Click the box any. You don't care. You want a full and robust list. The last thing you want to do is filter out pre-probates because the event that there's a death of the property owner, that might indicate a motivation for them to sell. So please mark any when you click that. Guys, another list I love to do that you can use in your filters, and it's very, very simple, is vacant. Okay. Now with vacant properties, I'm still going to want to make sure they have 40% or more. And I usually want to make sure they own those properties at least 3, if not 4 years. So you can use a lot of the same filters for it. But I love vacant. I love pre-probate. And you guys know how I feel about high equity, which leads me to my last part here, okay? There was a big rage years ago about a filter called the unknown equity. And I'm here to shed some light on it. If you click the unknown equity on your PropStream filters, you'll notice your counts go up. And a lot of people say, hey, we've discovered gold. I'm here to tell you, I've yet to see any of this data being proven. And I avoid the unknown equity because it's unknown. I have no idea what types of leads those are. I assume there's some sort of clerical error or they're so old in the system, they can't identify it. And for that reason, I don't even mess with unknown equity properties. And it will usually increase your account by about 5 to sometimes 10%. So if you're running out of numbers and you want to include it, but to be honest with you, even the tax assessor's office can't tell us what that is. And then PropStream, I've never kind of figured out what that is. And by the way, it doesn't matter what service you use. Somebody years ago said unknown equity was the gold, and now nobody talks about it. I'm here to tell you, I wouldn't mess with unknown equity because it's actually unknown. And as an investor and a wholesaler, we don't like to go in unknown territories. And I find it just ratchets up your count and you're wasting leads at that point. So guys, you tell me, what filters do you like to use PropStream? I'm telling you, these filters I'm using right now, I'm literally giving you the blueprint of how I pull these incredible lists that we cold call, SMS, and do direct mail on it. It all works, guys. The key is you want to be pointed in the right direction of motivated sellers. And if you use my filters, I promise you, you will be that much closer to finding motivated sellers so you can sell those contracts to sell to your cash buyers. Guys, are you using these filters? And specifically, are you using unknown equity? Because I tried it for 3 years. I didn't improve any of my deal count, and I've yet to see anybody prove that data. You guys tell me what you think about unknown equity, because I've been doing this 20 years, and it was all the rage, and now nobody wants to talk about it. I've tested it out. I don't think it helps out at all. So, guys, tell me if you're going to use these filters so you can hack the absolute best seller list inside of PropStream. If you guys don't have an account, I got you covered. I'll get you a 7-day free trial period. Go to listrei.com. And then if you do that, we also provide training right here on Flip with Rick. And guys, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.